Hello, my name's Bruce Arthur from Oz Archaeology Productions, Toowoomba. Welcome to another in my series, Tell 'em I Died game, Australia's most notorious bushrangers. And today we're going to be looking at the Kenniff brothers, Queensland's famous Kenniff brothers. Guilty until proven innocent? We shall see. At 8 a.m. on the 12th of January 1903, Australia's last bushranger, Paddy Kenniff, met his fate at the end of a hangman's rope at Queensland's infamous Boggo Road jail. This execution ended an era of Australian bushranging that lasted over 100 years, from 1796 to 1903. So this is a story of Queensland's infamous Kenniff brothers, who rode through Queensland's history in the late 1800s, mainly in the Roma, Mitchell and Springsure areas of central Queensland. Like most bushrangers, including the Kellys, they started their criminal lives stealing horses and cattle and graduated to robbing hotels, stores, coach passengers and passing dud and stolen cheques which they had pilfered from the Royal Mail. After 10 years of crime in Queensland, stretching from Toowoomba to Injune, north to Springsure, south to the New South Wales border, the Queensland Police instituted a massive statewide hunt after they had murdered a police constable and a station manager. They were eventually captured on the 23rd of June 1902 at Arrest Creek, 7 kilometres south of Mitchell, and we'll see a memorial which has been erected to them down there at Arrest Creek. And so ended a crime spree not seen before in Queensland, the crimes of Patrick and Jimmy Kenniff. From trial statements in 1903, this appeared to be the course of events. The two brothers were heading back along a well-worn path at Lethbridge's Pocket when Constable Doyle came upon them and yelled, "Bail up! You're under arrest!" Jimmy Kenniff slid from his saddle straight away and put his hands in the air, but Paddy Kenniff dug his spurs in and galloped off through the open timber. Strangely, Constable Doyle did not have his handcuffs in his belt, and he ordered the black tracker Sam Johnson to ride back to the pack horse and get the handcuffs. So Sam Johnson galloped back a few hundred metres to where the pack horse was. Paddy Kenniff saw Johnson leave and wheeled back with his revolver drawn. He shot Constable Doyle first and then shot the unarmed station manager Albert Delkey, who he'd had a fight with a few days before. What happened next beggars belief. The two bushrangers proceeded to incinerate and dismember their victims and stuff their burnt skeletal remains into the saddlebags of Doyle's pack horse. I often ask myself, why not just bury their corpses in a remote part of the gorge where they would probably never be found? But, as fate would have it, Doyle's pack horse escaped and bolted through the scrub, carrying 100 kilo of charred remains in its saddlebags, along with charred pieces of police uniform, police buttons and even pieces of spinal column with fresh muscles still between the vertebrae. Even Doyle and Delkey's shiny spurs were found near the incineration site. Of course, when the tracker, Sam Johnson, alerted the police at Mitchell Police Station, this prompted the government to offer a huge £1,000 reward for the capture of Patrick and James Kenniff. Mind you, the brothers had a lot of friends of similar ilk scattered through the ranges. Again, like the Kellys, they were of poor Irish stock, driven to desperation by corrupt and ill-disciplined police. The British authorities carried their hatred of the Irish from England to Australia, and the persecution didn't stop here. So here we are in the fading light of day, about the same time that the Kenniff brothers camped here at Ambush at Arrest Creek, 7k south of Mitchell. It makes me wonder, why did they ride 150 miles from Lethbridge's pocket to come down here to escape the police? They knew there was an army of police and black trackers looking for them, so maybe they thought this is the last place police would expect to find them. The last Australian Bushrangers, Patrick and James Kenniff. So it was here on the 23rd of June 1902 that the life of crime of the Kenniff brothers came to an end. A search party of 50 police and 16 Aboriginal trackers had been dispatched from Brisbane and all points west. After the Aboriginal tracker, Sam Johnson galloped into Mitchell Police Station with the grisly news. The government offered a huge reward of £1,000 for information leading to their capture. Johnson took police back to the spot where he'd left Delkey and Doyle at Lethbridge's pocket, but all they found were patches of blood and some greasy burn marks on the incineration stone. Doyle's temperamental horse George was found 2 days later 2 miles away at Meteor Downs. In its saddlebags were found 200 pounds of charred human remains with fresh cartilage still between the vertebrae of the spinal column. Metal buttons from police uniforms, patches of burnt blue cloth, charred teeth and small fragments of bone. What a terrible way to die. So here we have a memorial to the capture of the Kenniff brothers. The person lying on the ground is Paddy Kenniff. He fell over when they fell over in the bush. Person lying on the ground. 2 police officers are handcuffing him. And here we have Sam Johnson, the black tracker, looking south, looking for traces of their horse's hooves in the dirt. And then further towards Mitchell we have a memorial of Jimmy, who escaped through the bush, but when he found out he was outnumbered 100 to 1, he decided to surrender to police. sent off to the Commissioner Parry Oakton. Tasker and Paddy, acting on my plans of this morning, captured the two Kenniffs about 6 miles from here in the bush. I saw the two offenders in custody and they are now on their way to the lockup. This is RPJ Good's very good description of the days of the Kenniff brothers, catching the Kenniffs. So after they were arrested at Arrest Creek, Jimmy sat uncomfortably in his cell because his wild flight through dense prickly pear had left his clothing full of small needle-like lances which stabbed his skin. The irritation was more than he could bear, so he asked Cram if he could change. Police made arrangements for the Kenniffs to be escorted to the capital in a special railway carriage attached to the Western Mail, scheduled to pass through Mitchell on Thursday, 26th of June. Later in the day, a strong police guard promenaded the brothers from the lockup to the railway station, where amid a large but quiet and orderly crowd, they boarded the train for the journey to the state capital. As the mail steamed eastward, word of its progress raced ahead, and at each station along the route a crowd assembled, hoping to catch a glimpse of the desperados. All were disappointed though, as Pat and Jimmy were kept well out of sight in the enclosed carriage. As soon as the train arrived in Brisbane, the prisoners were transferred by horse-drawn prison van to Boggo Road Jail. Arrived in Brisbane, a huge crowd of sightseers gathered at Roma Street to catch a glimpse of them. Public concern was further aroused when a specially selected special jury of wealthy businessmen, accountants and other professionals were sworn in to guarantee a guilty verdict. So on the 3rd of November 1902, Chief Justice Griffiths presided over the murder trial of the Kenniffs. Every person in Queensland at the time had a view as to the guilt or innocence of the accused. The Kenniffs had a large group of sympathisers who strongly believed that they were the victims of a police frame-up. The accused, of course, were only represented by a young, inexperienced barrister, one T.J. Ryan, who went on to become Premier of Queensland in 1915. At the end of a lot of legal argument, the prosecution elected to proceed with the murder of Doyle only against both brothers. The only eyewitness account of events, not the actual murders, was supplied by the Aboriginal black tracker Sam Johnson. The defence tried every trick in the book to discredit him. They tried to ruin his credibility by using the nickname Deadwood Dick or Joe the Liar, and to show his lack of education by asking, what time of day was it when the bullets went flying about? Sun up, go down, or him on the other side? Well, the educated black tracker replied, about 8 o'clock, Your Honour, 8 o'clock in the morning. His dignified answer to such an insulting question produced much laughter in the public gallery. During December 1902, the special jury found both men guilty of murder, and they awaited their date of execution. There was such a public outcry of the verdict, the general public held a concert in Brisbane to pay the expenses of an appeal to the Privy Council. Justice Riel of the Privy Council said that there was no evidence that Jimmy Kenniff had anything to do with the murders, and that he remained only an accessory after the fact. So on the 31st of December 1902, Jimmy Kenniff was given a reprieve and his sentence was commuted to life imprisonment. He was released after 16 years and died in Charters Towers, an old man, in 1940, and Patrick was hung on the 12th of January 1903. We're here at the All Saints magnificent heritage listed All Saints Memorial Church, Tamarukan. And you might ask, why are we here? Well, this is the last resting place of Constable George Doyle and Station Manager Albert Dalkey. In memory of Constable George Doyle and Albert Christian Dalkey, whose uncompromising fidelity and heroic endeavour to do their duty and vindicate the law led to their murder under revolting circumstances at Lethbridge's Pocket near the head of the Warrego River, Easter Day 1902. In order to destroy traces of the crime, their bodies were burnt, but the ashes, having been subsequently recovered, were interred in this place 13th of January 1904. Thou hast been faithful over a few things, I will make thee ruler over many things. R.I.P. And it's Bruce Arthur signing off from the last Australian bushranger.